and to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton Tonight on TV, radio and online, Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan Tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. Your latest headlines from the GB newsroom. England have missed out on World Cup glory, losing the final to Spain 1-0. The Lionesses came agonisingly close to becoming the first England senior side to win the trophy since the men's team in 1966. The King praised their skill, determination and team spirit, and the Prime Minister said while it wasn't to be, they've already secured their legacy as game changers. Despite the loss, Jeannie Allett, a member of the original Lionesses team of 1972, still has hopes for the future.
I think that whole of England is very emotional at the moment. It could have come home. Spain was just that little bit better, if I have to be honest. We should have just done take the chances what we had. It wasn't to be. It will come home eventually.
In other news, the British Medical Association's calling for hospital managers to be regulated in a similar way to medical staff. The call comes in the wake of Lucy Letby's conviction. The BMA says it's deeply worrying that consultants who repeatedly raised concerns about the former nurse weren't listened to. Letby, who was found guilty of the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 6 others, has indicated she won't attend her sentencing tomorrow. Former Justice Secretary Robert Buckland says she should be forced to listen.
My suggestion had been to make sure that there was a live link beamed into the cell, either sound or sound and pictures, to ensure that Letby had nowhere to hide and that she, in effect, has to listen to what the judge is saying about the case. And most importantly, the victim personal statements, those impact statements that will really bring home, I think, to the wider world, the appalling, devastating impact of the loss of these innocent children, these innocent babies, have had upon dozens of families.
A 10-year-old girl who was found dead at her home in Woking was known to the local council prior to her death. Sarah Sharif was found on the 10th of August after police were called from Pakistan by her father, Irfan. He, his partner and his brother are all wanted for questioning. Police believe they travelled to Islamabad the day after her body was discovered. Surrey County Council said it would work tirelessly to gain a full understanding of the situation. And finally, Russia's Luna 25 spacecraft has crashed onto the moon. A rocket carrying the craft launched on the 11th of August, the country in a space race against India, whose Chandrayaan-3 is due to land on the satellite's south pole this week. This was Moscow's first mission to the moon in 47 years. The failed attempt is a blow to the country, which is hoping to return with the first samples of frozen water. This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. Now it's time for Headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. Right, let's take a look at the front pages. But before we do that, I should have, of course, introduced myself. I'm Francis Foster, and I'm joined by two veterans of comedy. And the reason I use the word veteran is because it's more politically correct than saying the word old. Lewis Schaefer and Kerry Marks.
So
and I've got
unnecessary.
your names wrong. How are you, gentlemen?
Well, if Carrie and I got married, I'd be Lewis Carey Marks.
Yeah, and that's the only reason we're not doing it.
OK, there we go. Right, let's take a look at those front pages. The Daily Mail are going with Make Coward Letby Face Us. This is to do with Nurse Letby, who is refusing to actually face the judge when she is being sentenced. The Times is now is going with Letby police fear that she attacked 30 more babies. The Guardian is going with pride and pain, showing the Lionesses' tragic loss at the World Cup final. And the iNews is going with the same story, which is heartbreak, but also Tories tell Sunak to sack Braverman. And the Express is again going with pride of nation, but King brings Andrew in from cold. We're the Daily Star, we're so proud of you. And those were your front pages. Kicking off the in-depth look into the front pages with the Guardian, it's Lewis.
Yes, well, welcome. Welcome to see you
Thank
the first
you, Lewis.
time. Now, don't thank me.
I thought you were welcoming me.
No, I'm welcoming you, too, because I love working with you. You're my girlfriend's favourite person on this show. Nothing personal, Francis.
Not you. Not you.
She doesn't think I'm funny, and she doesn't like me being on the show.
I like your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right, Lewis, can we actually just get on with the paper, please?
Sorry about that. Okay, this is the Guardian. The head of the story is pride and pain. Is the poor Lionesses not so poor? They didn't win. They're not the #1 team, but they're the #2 team. You know, they could be considered to be failures, but they're not failures because they came in. They were runners up, which means 160 other countries did worse than them. But you know how people can be.
OK, so we've got The Guardian, but also it's the Lucy Letby case that they're focused on as well. Lewis.
Yes, it is. Well, that's the big news. And this is, I mean, horrible, really, which is that this Lucy Letby woman she harmed dozens more babies, and who knows how many she might have killed, and they're still investigating it. And what they're demanding is they're demanding some kind of control over hospital administrators to catch this. They have the data that they could have stopped this. They know whenever there's a blip in like who's getting sick or in any kind of case, whether it's kidney surgery or heart surgery, and they can see how those trends are going, and they didn't recognize it.
It's tragic. It's tragic, and obviously there's going to be some investigation into this. It's quite clear that doctors had warned the hospital something is wrong here, and the same person seems to be on duty every time, and nothing was done, and it really looks like it should have been. At the same time, you know, we need to get to the facts, but there's also this kind of morbid fascination with the whole thing, and the public who want answers. Why was it infatuation with the doctor, as been suggested? Was she getting some vicarious joy out of doing this? And we won't get any satisfaction from this. You know, I was singing the Boomtown Rats song, I Don't Like Mondays. You remember that song, based on the Brenda Spencer case of a 16-year-old who did a shoe scourging, and she actually said it was because I don't like Mondays, which many of us don't like Mondays. It still doesn't register. None of this is going to satisfy us.
No,
it's going to be a horrible story, and it's just going to unfold.
I completely agree with you.
Worse.
It is going to be a horrible story that runs and runs for a significant amount of time. The Financial Times has gone with something a little left field, hasn't it, Kerry?
The Luna 25. Russia's probe has crashed into the moon. Now, this is an unmanned probe that's crashed, and I know it's frowned on to complain about robot drivers, but aren't they awful, you know? I mean, I've been driving all my life, and I went through a stage where I was pretty unreliable and crazy in a car, but I never crashed into the moon. I don't know about you. So that's pretty irresponsible. And Roscosmos, which is the Russian space, is the Russian State Space Corporation. So they called it Roscosmos rather than Rusk, because that doesn't sound very good. NASA sounds a lot better than Rusk and what they're up to. But they announced today, not that it had crashed, but they said it has ceased to exist, which is pretty much how they talk about Ukrainian hospitals, so they're used to the language. And what's happened is Russia's funding for space travel has now all gone into weaponry to fund the war, which they had trouble funding because all the funding for the war had gone into the Russian oligarchs' pockets. So
what a surprise!
It's all mess on top of mess on top of mess.
Yeah, they have bigger problems than this, the Russians.
Do they, Lewis?
Yeah, they totally do. They've got.
What's going on?
What's going on? I'm going to tell you what's going on. That they're basically, their technical education has collapsed. They've had a huge drop in births, so they don't have the manpower. The fact that they're able, this story is very similar to the Lionesses coming in second place. They might have crashed, but they sent a rocket to the moon. Give them some credit.
Not good enough. India will get there first. India's been saying this is really sad, this happened, but they're re-arriving in a few days, so it's worked in their favour.
Water, but everybody knows there's water on the moon. And the reason there's water on the moon is...
OK, Lewis, thank you. Thank you for your wonderful analysis of astrophysics and the moon.
I haven't had a chance.
I'm surprised you even know about the moon.
Right. Moving on, we are going to be looking at the eye. It's the Tories. Of course, we're going with the Lionesses, but Tories tell Sunak to sack Braverman. What's going on here, Lewis?
Well, this is very un-British story. It's very. I'll tell you why.
Why is it un-British?
I'll get to it if you just let me speak. You know, people always complain, Francis, that I don't get enough chance to talk.
I don't think anybody's ever made that argument in the history of the globe.
On Twitter. They've done it on Twitter. Anyway, the Tories tell Braverman, tell Sunak, Rishi Sunak, who's the Prime Minister, to sack Braverman, who's the Home Secretary. I always love the concept of a Home Secretary. It sounds like somebody's working out of their home and they've got a fax machine and
You're showing your age, Lewis, but come on, tell me what's going on.
I'm telling you, is that they're not happy with the way Braverman's dealing with the boat crisis, but I feel for her because there's nothing that can be done. The whole country is gridlocked in what to do with migrants coming by boats, with migrants coming into the country. There's no consensus, so she's had no backup. I think this is, I mean, you know me, I don't really, me and women have a fractured thing.
Okay,
let me finish my point.
Okay, finish your point because we need to be moving on, Lewis.
But this is kind of like the glass ceiling, where they hire a woman to do a job that cannot be done.
Anyway, brilliant. Thank you so much, Kerry.
People are going to say that I'm right.
Yeah, no, it's one of those jobs like England captain, isn't it? It's gonna you're doomed from the word go.
There you go. He agrees.
Everyone will learn. I'd like to see it go, of course I would, and for lots of different reasons. But at the same time, this is cross-party. Everyone's got different complaints, and I don't think she could possibly satisfy anyone at this time. Yeah. It's also a problem that what a lot of people want is different from what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So they want to hear language and so on that's all very friendly and sweet, but to do something intense and solid about a problem. So.
OK, well, there we are. And finally, the Daily Express have gone for Pride of a Nation, which is a lovely way to describe the Lionesses. But they've also gone with King brings Andrew in from cold.
This is, the idea that Charles wants to bring Andrew in from the cold. It sounds like it's a spy, isn't it? They're going to bring in a spy out of commission. But he's actually not. The story is the other way around. It's about keeping him in the freezer, apparently, because there were plans to move him out of the £30 million Royal Lodge, and now that's being shelved. And what the story is telling us is that Charles thinks that he's more of a problem than than Harry and Meghan, which, of course, he is, because the public aren't ready to forgive anything at the moment and won't be unless something completely new changes. But with that and with Harry and Meghan, what's he got? William and Kate are pulling a lot of weight for the royal family right now.
That they are indeed. Any thoughts on Prince Andrew?
Well, I am up for the part of in the Crown series 7 of Jeffrey Epstein.
OK, fantastic. Thank you, Lewis, with your searing analysis of the royal family and the political situation they're in. That's it for part one. But coming up, Silent Scientist. White families are cancelled and the government crackdown on lazy civil servants. So, basically, everything is as it should be.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, "Nana, stop arguing." I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Francis Foster, still here, unfortunately, with Lewis Schaefer and Kerry Marks. How are you both, gentlemen?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
So far, so good.
Good. Kicking off with the Express, we have Lewis.
Yes, Sadiq Khan tried to silence, quote-unquote, silent scientists who questioned impact of ULEZ. And this is in the Express. I don't know where this was originally done. But what happened is Sadiq Khan paid the University of London, right, University College of London, environmental research group, £800,000 to do a study to see whether the ULEZ was effective in reducing pollution, which is very important, very important. And they came back with a report saying no, it hasn't done anything. It's only cut nitrous oxide by 3%. It hasn't been worth it. And then he gets on the phone, Sadiq, and he calls up the guy who's the head of the thing, Frank Kelly, and said, hey, I gave you £800,000. Where's the results I wanted? So Frank Kelly, who's the director, okay, he came back and said, hey, he changed the report.
So he changed the report. So Is Sadiq going to face any type of sanction from this?
Well, you know what? If this was America and he was Donald Trump, this is exactly what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump called up Georgia and said, can you get me a couple of votes down there? And this is what this is why, A, you can't trust politicians, which we all know. And number two, you can't trust scientists. And I've said this millions of times.
Yes, but you can trust Lewis Schaefer. No, don't ever trust Lewis Schaefer, please.
The people don't know. Listen, the people will turn on you if you keep on talking like this.
Kerry is a man that I trust, Lewis. Kerry,
the ULEZ hasn't done nothing. It's raised £224 million for the government, and what we'd like to know is that it's definitely effective. And what's the point in having a study done if you're going to disagree with the results of the study? Now, I expect the ULEZ does achieve something. I'm not totally convinced myself, but it's like, what do I know about that? What I know it's definitely doing is putting up the price of used cars exponentially, and I know that it's making driving less fun. There's a whole lot of things that might be doing stuff for the environment and might be, sensible for saving lives and so on, but they're really... I drove in the days when you could go any speed you like and no one cared, and the police would give you an extra drink on your way, And we used to kill a lot of people, but it was a giggle, it was fun. And now it's also with the price of cars, I'm looking to buy a car at the moment if anyone's got one, and I'm looking for one. What I'd like is one of those ones where it's a couple getting divorced and she wants to punish her husband,
just so the kids
sold the rolls for £2 or something.
Classic comedian's car. We need to be moving on.
No, Francis, you need to say that he was kidding about killing.
Yes, it was. This is all a joke. This is headlines.
Yeah,
there we go.
Off-com purposes.
OK, so next story is in The Independent, and it deals with the very same man, Kerry.
Sadiq Khan, his office is under fire for suggesting white families don't represent real Londoners. This is a bit of a story, but it's not something Sadiq Khan has actually said. He might have told the office to do this. But they've got a new guide which opened with the words, a city for all Londoners, and promised to appeal to all ages, genders, sexual orientations and family makeup. I don't know how you can be diverse enough for this, really, because it should also include height, width, beards, conjoined twins, people who look like potatoes, whatever. There's always going to be someone left out of this. But yes, we're going that way. And as I say, I'm not going to say that this is that he said he apologised for it and said it wasn't the intention. It was someone in the office sent it out. It was unfortunate. But at the same time, we had that business with the royal family on the balcony being accused of being too white. There was Kristen Bell's party where her white friends turned up, and who else she might have invited didn't turn up, and it got accused of being too white. I feel like a bit like we're going back into that. There was a time in like the 90s, early zeros, where everyone wanted to have a black friend to look cool, and it ended up being racist in itself.
Yeah, and everyone always quoted them.
Yeah, I fall now with my black friend. I now need to find another black friend to fit in. So there's a bit of that going on.
But I think actually Sadiq shouldn't have apologized, because the couple, I don't think we put a picture of the couple that they had shown, which was a guy and a woman and like a happy couple with 2 kids, and that's like so
Oh yeah, it's
done.
It's done. We need 2 men. Yeah. And preferably with a cat of some sort.
You don't see any of these families in London.
Let's have more diversity. Lewis, now, this is a job that not even you can get fired from.
Yes, well, this is interesting news. Thank you. The Daily Mail says that calls for Rishi Sunak to end cushy public sector job culture after claims civil servants are 10 times more likely to die in their post than being sacked due to poor performance. And I don't like this story, because it basically implies that the people need to be fired. Maybe they don't need to be fired. Maybe the hiring process is amazing. They should have had a headline that, because they said that only 44 people were dismissed over in the last 12 months, and 420 civil servants died. So they're saying, what are they saying? More people should have been dismissed, even though they might not have been...
Yeah, but hang on. Surely, with these numbers, we're looking at 310,000 civil servants, Kerry.
Yeah.
Just 248 faced a performance review in the previous year. Those are ridiculous numbers, surely.
Yeah, it makes the job pretty safe, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But it's one of those careers where you move up waiting for someone to die. You know, it's a really slow process. And I misread this at first because it says civil servants are 10 times more likely to die in post. I thought it said die in the post, and that would be a completely different thing, and very unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, it's what do? You either need fewer to die on the job or more to be fired. So I'm not quite sure what their plan is to solve this, but apparently Labour would. So that's
and
a good
it's
thing.
always been that way with civil servants. They've always had basically a job for life. Difference was back in the day they weren't paid very well, and now they're paid very well, from what I know.
Gold-plated pensions is, I think, the term that is always used to describe the pension scheme at the civil service. Moving on to The Guardian, Kerry, and we're talking about private school kids.
Guess what? Private school students in England are twice as likely to earn top A-level grades as state pupils. Now, the fact that private school kids are more likely to earn higher grades is, I don't think, going to surprise a whole lot of people. I suppose the gap is really what we're talking about here. But I mean, I went to a comprehensive school.
Of course you did, Kerry.
Yes, but I'm very proud of. Well, I'm not. There's nothing to be proud of at all. There was like, from what I remember, there was like 30 or 40 kids in a class all punching each other. A teacher laying bets on who was going to win. It wasn't the best learning environment, and of course kids.
It was great fun to teach, though.
Kids in school, yeah. Well, was it? Were you a teacher there?
Yes, I
thought
was.
recognising. Kids in schools where there's just a handful of kids in the class are going to learn better. You know, they're going to learn faster and easier. And also the other kids. What's happened during the lockdown is some kids have been homeschooled by their mums. Those were the comprehensive kids, whilst their mum was doing a Zoom call trying to keep her business going. And the private school kids had tutors coming in and teaching them stuff. So they've got better A-level results now, which is kind of what you'd expect, right?
It is exactly what you expect. And if a parent... Of course the kids are going to do better in private school because the parents are spending tons of money sending those kids to school. And if the kid doesn't do well, you smack him in the head. I don't know whether that's appropriate nowadays, but that's if I had money and my kids...
Hello, Ofcom.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to say we need more teachers or we need fewer kids.
It's a metaphor. It doesn't matter whether the school is better or not. The parents care more, and the parents have more money. And rich people...
I think the money is more than the caring.
No. Rich people...
money is the
money. Rich people are always better than poor people.
And it's almost
better
like...
people.
Yeah,
better people than poor people.
It's almost
so
like you're an
controversial.
American,
Is that
Lewis.
controversial?
Sorry.
OK, we need to move on, because this is...
Really?
Yes.
Is that controversial?
Yeah, I think it's slightly controversial.
No, you're right. Poor people are horrible people, and rich people, they're wonderful.
This is not the BBC. This is GBNews. The people want to be told that
they're better people.
Apparently we're a right-wing channel. Anyway, moving on to The Guardian, Lewis. The Tories are under fire after dramatic fall in sport, apparently.
Yeah, in the UK, it's The Guardian. It's like they're complaining that no one's going to playing sports anymore. Of course no one's playing sports anymore. They want to stay in and they want to be on their computers and their cell phones. It's not fun. If they're let out of the house at all, OK? They brought women into sports, and no dude wants to play when there's girls around. I mean, nothing personal against women, but nobody wants it. And what happens when everybody gets a medal? This is your country. Everybody gets a medal. What's the incentive? You want to see your classmates lose. It's not enough that you just participate or win. Your classmates have to be failures. Someone said that.
Do you know? So I didn't understand a word of that, Lewis, but you delivered it with conviction. So God bless you.
Yeah.
Kerry, what do you think?
One time I agree with you. I don't want to be better at sport. I want everyone else to fail more.
Yeah.
You know, I want to carry on not doing it, and everyone else to be really rubbish. The idea. What happens is every time we have a sporting event, football, Olympics, we go into a little trend of saying we should do more sport. We should be more sporty like that. Sport's great, people like it, and then of course it wears off a short while afterwards, and we go back to whatever default we always have. You know, what's happening is also, I suppose, we're putting more money into or encouragement into girls playing football now, and it's talking about breaking the glass ceiling, which I'm all for. At the same time, I think if you can't break a glass ceiling, then you know, do you deserve to?
Well, the thing about women, they shouldn't be allowed to. Women
sit above it.
I'm going to tell the joke. Women shouldn't be allowed to break the glass ceiling because they can't fix it.
Okay, well,
That
there
was
we
horrible.
go.
That
And
was horrible, Lewis.
Thank you
That was
very
horrible.
much for that metaphor-based joke, Lewis. It's a metaphor.
I detached myself from you.
Right,
Sorry.
this is my first time presenting this, gentlemen, and you've
And you're
made
doing
it
a great
seem...
job.
Thank you. You've made
Doing
it
really well.
so that I'm never going to get booked again.
No,
Anyway,
it wasn't your fault to start
it
the
was.
show.
It's never my fault. But anyway, that's it for part 2. But stay tuned for Angela Rayner's rave impressionists, comedians, and a chat GPT for mothers. See you soon, guys.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, I'm Dan Stroud, and this is your latest GB News forecast from the Met Office. So we have high pressure to the south and low pressure to the north and west. It kind of leaves the UK in between weather systems. But this area of low pressure is starting to actually push thicker cloud and outbreaks of rain in across Northern Ireland and northwest Scotland. Further to the south across England and Wales, largely clear skies. And under those clear skies, we do see some low cloud, mist and fog developing by dawn. Overnight temperatures remaining comfortably in double figures right the way across the board. Now, it's a bright start come Monday morning, with any low cloud, mist and fog across the south quickly lifting and breaking, leaving a pleasant enough day for many across the south. Further north, we have that rain edging in from the west, and that rain will become locally heavy by the course of the afternoon. Temperatures on Monday generally slightly higher than the values we saw on Sunday, with highs of 25 across the south and 21 further north. So that band of cloud and rain continues to sink south on Tuesday, and this kind of sort of sets the scene for the rest of the week as low pressure gradually wins out, turning increasingly showery for all by midweek, and temperatures peaking on Wednesday, particularly across the south and east. Bye for now.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, kicking off this section with the Telegraph and the Green Party in a row over non-green issues. What's going on, Kerry?
This is a story of a former Green deputy, Sharar Ali, who was fired because of his opinions on trans issues and is now suing the party, which he'll probably win. We've seen a number of these cases, and it's probably going to come down to a free speech case. And as we've seen each time, the free speech argument normally does win. But this is a first of its kind, because I don't think there's been one where someone has sued their own party for not allowing them to have their views. And I'm kind of binary on this, because
on the sex,
on the story of whether a party. I've only just looked at the story, and should a party? Parties do have a line. They go, "This is the party line, and if you don't like it, that's what we're about." And if he's not towing that line, which is literally towing the line, then do they have a right to fire him and say this? It doesn't matter what you think,
Well, hang on a second.
That's what we're about.
Kerry. I do accept that point that they need to toe the party line, but when it is completely in denial of biology, surely, Lewis, if somebody is allowed to believe in year one biology.
Well, no, because I mean, I agree. Listen to me. People out there are going to hear this and they're going to think to themselves, "Oh, this guy's taking that side." But I agree with Kerry. Is that you're in a party? People should be allowed to have views, and they should be allowed to be kicked out of the party for having those views, because it's like a club. It's like private business, and you can't have the government go in there and say you have to have this guy, even though you don't like what he believes in. And I think that's the problem.
I've got to say, I don't like that. I don't like that's what our parties are about. I don't like that there are whips saying everyone's got to say the same thing. I'd rather be full of... But it doesn't work that way. That's not how our politics is.
Yes, exactly.
But I do remember when political parties are more defining themselves by their economics and their politics rather than, what they think of sex and gender and, biology.
Those are also belief systems. And... you should be able to have a debate in a political party, but if the political party does not want to have the debate, we should not use the state. That's the problem.
But you can have a Christian party, and then that's their views. It doesn't matter whether they're correct or they're right. That's what the party believes,
right? Let's say you're a Christian party, and then someone comes in and says, "I'm not a Christian." The Christian party should be allowed to kick you out. And these people, these Green people, believe...
OK, so isn't this a real problem for the Green Party, though, is because they're embracing trans ideology, and there's going to be a lot of people who are very passionate about green issues, climate change, etc.
Well, this is the problem.
Who will not go along with this stuff.
It's not... so far, the gender issue has not been shown to be a vote winner. I mean, it hasn't. Yeah. So it's up to them. That's what I'm saying. They can make their decisions, and it tends to be a bit of a punch in the face for what most of the public feel on the issue.
But you're hearing the word green, and what they mean, and green includes green issues, but it also includes just the bog standard radical left issues as well.
Completely agree. But, Lewis, we're going to talk about a lady after my own heart, Angela Rayner. What's she been doing?
Well, she's been drinking. She's been drinking for 12 hours. Vodka-fueled rave session. She was on holiday in Spain.
Only 12 hours.
And this is pointed out as a non-news story because she's at some Edinburgh thing, and she's telling this story about how she was drinking. We don't know if she was drinking or not. She just might be bragging. She's got 3 kids. They're under 10, and I think they're under 10. She got divorced like a couple of years ago. She's like a fat, bloated single mother.
OK.
And I mean, sorry, I don't mean that. I don't mean that.
Those are jokes, ladies and gentlemen.
Those are jokes. Oh, my God. I took a step too far. But listen, let me finish my point.
OK, finish your point before we all get cancelled.
How guys, how politicians, they'll have a drink
Yes.
Or they'll have a bagel or whatever that guy did, a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Ham sandwich. She's just saying, look at me, I'm one of the guys. I'm at this rave, I'm a cool guy.
OK, Kerry, can you salvage this, please?
No, good luck to it. I think, personally, I think our politicians should drink and take drugs and everything else because then they're unblackmailable, you know? It's hard if they're just outwardly doing they should do everything bad. And then, you know, if some Russian spy gets up to them and gives them a drink, and they're not going to start spewing loads of secrets because they can handle it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give us politicians who are hardy, toughen them up a bit. You know?
Let's get more alcoholics in Parliament. Anyway, Kerry, the Daily Telegraph has got a story on Mumsnet. Tell me what's going on.
Was that a slip or deliberate?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is. All very Freudian.
Decades of parenting advice. Mumsnet uses technology from OpenAI to comb through threads of 10 million users. So the majority owner of Mumsnet, Justine Roberts, is talking about how artificial intelligence chatbot is being used to gain information, which she seems very proud of. There's this line here. It says, data from the bot is likely to be used to guide policymakers on parenting issues. And I think, OK, that's quite good to guide policy making. And but then it immediately goes, this is not even a separate sentence, and to allow advertisers to better target marketing campaigns. And this is where we're really at, is everything now is about the marketing. And she's saying here, AI tools are only as powerful as the data they rely on. She's suggesting people give more and more data in order for the AI to do its thing and process as much information on you as possible so it can do adverts. What I think is, I think we're entering into a nightmare time, because I think all the stuff AI is doing, I think it's going to improve our lives massively. I think it's going to make things far more efficient for a while, and then we're going to get to a point where absolutely everything is going to have an advert on it and payment on it. Yeah. And all the things people think are going to be great, sex robots, people think, oh, that's going to be amazing. And it'll get, what it'll be, you'll have your sex robot, you'll get to the point where you'll just be really excited and the robot will say, hey, who you should bank with, blah, 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 and do this thing, buy this little toy here, this will suit you. If you don't want the adverts, then pay £20 a day. This is the future.
Carrie, I'm interrupting you, Carrie. I think Carrie
How dare you?
has missed the point of this story.
OK, Lewis, explain the point to us.
The point of this story is, it's in the Telegraph. It's basically one long press release or sales presentation by this woman who owns Mumsnet, telling the world, hey, you should advertise on Mumsnet. We've got tons of information. There's not one bit questioning it. It's basically an embarrassment by the Telegraph. It's completely non-news. It's an advertisement for Mumsnet.
OK, so you're not a fan of Mumsnet?
No, I'm not. No, Mumsnet.
How does that disagree with me?
Because you're saying...
I never even said it wasn't.
You're saying...
I did not at any point say I don't think this is an advert for Mumsnet.
It's not about... I'm not a fan of the Telegraph for printing an ad that says this.
OK, well, there we go. Well, thank you very much. But we've got a Guardian story now, Lewis, and people are getting left behind in this new technological wonderland. Tell me what's going on.
Oh, my God, Kate, this has been the worst week for worst show.
I'm going to disagree with you now, even if I agree with you.
I've picked the story. Thanks, mate.
I don't agree.
Well, you like the story. OK, no app, no app. Please don't disagree with me. I can't take it. No app, no entry. How the digital world is failing the non-tech savvy. And this is the Guardian. They're trying to be nice to old people. They're saying old people can't use tech, which they shouldn't be able to use tech. That's the whole point. The world moves on. They get their grandkids to do it for them.
Oh, that's quite unfair, surely, Kerry.
I disagree with you.
Yes.
By the way.
Don't do that.
No,
really disagree.
OK, and I agree with you, but by saying the opposite. My mother's like 90 now, and she has trouble using a basic phone. I think already you're looking at there's so many things involved with every single app and understanding stuff. And what they're talking about here with Ryanair and others finding, OK, we've always had to pay extras in different types of spheres, so I'm told. But now it's absolutely... Now on Ryanair, I think you're allowed a bag on an EasyJet big enough to carry a pair of underpants, and soon you'll be paying for a paper bag as well. And all this was a couple who are old and didn't understand how this worked.
But hasn't it always been this way?
They printed out the ticket. They printed out the boarding pass. Or I think they had, and or something. But now it had to be shown. I don't know what it was, but
so what is the point?
I'm confused even at the story.
How are you disagreeing with me?
the old people can't. A lot of old people really can't keep up with all this and follow all the massive things you've got to do.
Old people had trouble with smoke signals back in the day.
I travel now wearing a fat suit and I fill it with socks and pants and stuff.
Great.
That's my secret.
Kerry, do you know what? I've never heard anything more believable from you.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Okay.
Kerry, we're going to be talking about comedians talking about impressionists who are probably not comedians. Come on, tell me.
This is The Guardian again, telling us how impressionists keep audiences laughing in an age of social media celebrities, and what they're actually meaning, well, the actual story is an opposite, is that they don't. This is awful, awful, awful story that impressionists are suffering because in the past, we had just like 2 or 3 channels and everyone knew who they were making fun of. So they'd say, this is... And they'd always say, anyway, this is Brian Goff. And everyone would go, yeah, we all know Brian Goff. But now everyone's like, who's Brian Goff? And no one knows any of that. If they say this is the woman from the gardening or from who does the weather, no one knows that because everyone's been watching different things. So I don't like impressionists anyway. I don't... To hell with them. Good luck to you. I know lots of people who get impressionists, but you're making a living by studying the way other people talk. That's weird already.
No, it's
and then
cheating.
you're copying them. You're doing something that other people are already doing. So, frankly, I'd rather watch a human statue.
You know what? I agree with Kerry. It's like a form of prop comedy. It's the easiest form of comedy. It's not the easiest. It's hard to do, but it's not great art.
OK, so if you're an impressionist, I'm sorry, but your art is terrible. Guys, we need to be going to the break. So, that's all for part 3, but stay tuned for Queen being cancelled, naked bike races being cancelled, and the Yorkshire dialect being revived, which is disgraceful, as Yorkshire dialect should have been cancelled years ago. Stay tuned.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train. Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa!
Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. And Lewis, the Express have gone with a story all about my favourite band, Queen, and cancelling a song about big bottoms.
Yes, well, that can happen. Iconic Queen song dropped from group's greatest hits album and latest woke move. Queen did this song called Fat Bottomed Girls.
It's a classic.
Classic. And I thought it sounded like an old song, but it was written by Brian May. Nothing personal against Brian May, but I personally find him, he wants to be a physicist. And you know what my feelings about physicists.
I know. You're not a fan.
Worse than epidemiologists or virologists. That's the lowest level of scientist. Anyway, and Freddie Mercury didn't write it, and they're not using it, I guess, because you can't mention fat people. And speaking of fat, what do you think about it?
You can't say that.
Unbelievable.
Lewis, unbelievable.
You're incorrigible tonight.
Because I've lost all this weight and I feel like...
You used to be a nice guy. People used to like you.
Yeah.
I know. I've become too good looking, I think.
Kerry, what do you think
about this? You used to be self-deprecating rather than punch it out like this.
How can you be self-deprecating? People wouldn't believe me being self-deprecated. Somebody said that I reminded them of George Clooney.
I believed it. They haven't said why. We'd like to know what is the offensive part. Is it fat? Is it bottom? Is it girl? Is it being left alone with
or is it
big
girl?
fat?
It goes all the entire way.
Yeah, but it could be any of it. You know. I mean, what if it had been left alone with big fat Dave? Would that have made it better? You know, he was such a naughty rave. It's odd, isn't it? Because we go one way at one point saying, hey, fat is beautiful and fat is wonderful. The next thing is you can't even say it. Do you remember a few years ago, we got the Barbie movie out at the moment. There was they brought out a Barbie that was an extra large Barbie to be more representative of the way women have let themselves go. And and then they brought out an even bigger Barbie to be more representative. But Ken stayed the same size, right? Yeah. So big Barbie still gets Ken. In the real world, he's run off with Cindy. Yeah. People can't face the truth.
Well, no, they can't. We live in a society where we're unable to face the truth, and that's what's going on, Kerry, in France, where we've got a bit of naked bike riding, and people aren't willing to face the truth.
This is happening in France rather than any of the other European countries, but the naked Tour de France is not a tour de force, apparently, because they've been banned for public indecency at several of its stages, and the lead guy got arrested. So basically, the police said, these people riding naked on bicycles, this is just a bit too rude for the public to see, so they arrested and handcuffed a naked man. And he was probably going, put a ball gag in my mouth, really, if you can do the whole thing.
Right, OK.
When I had 2012, I had a heart attack. And when I finally left the hospital, the doctor said to me, you're OK to go out. He said, but we're letting you out early and don't do anything that might raise your blood pressure for a while, anything too exciting. And as I walked out of the hospital, several hundred naked people on bicycles rode past, almost like they were just testing me.
Yes.
To see whether I could handle it or not.
But you passed the test, so congratulations, Lewis. What do you think of this?
Is it sexually indecent, though? Have you ever seen a guy riding a bicycle with his...
What?
Hanging over the seat.
Yes.
It's so... And the thing is, with women...
Do you like that, Lewis?
No, I don't like that. I need time to study it.
You're never going to clean those saddles. It's something bad, isn't it, really?
It's something bad to see naked. And the thing
about... But allow it, though.
And even women on bicycles, they're going too fast. You can't study it. So what is
You don't have to study it.
Yeah.
You can just smile and wave.
He's a student.
You're
a student of the human anatomy. Lewis, so we're staying in France with Saint-Tropez. What's going on there?
Well, there's a row over restaurants. Wealth screening boils over in the French resort of Saint-Tropez. The mayor threatened sanctions against restaurants who are checking to see if the people who are using the restaurants spend enough money. And he's a bit upset about that because the restaurants have records of customers who've come in the past. They're not going to let any cheap people come in. And they're making a big deal about it. The fact is, it's a private business. I'm a libertarian. People who watch this channel, I hope, are libertarians. They want businesses to be able to do what they want to do.
Hey, hang on, Kerry. You can't say to someone, oh, look, this person here doesn't leave a 40% tip or whatever it is. They order some tap water. We're banning you. Can you do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. I think we're in agreement here, aren't we? These are restaurants in a millionaire resort acting like they're in a millionaire resort, basically, and they're being rude to rich people for not leaving enough. No, who cares if they're being rude to rich people? They can get away with it, and they're pushing the odd guy into a car, apparently, because he didn't leave enough tip. I think that's quite funny. I think even the poorest people would like to hear about rich guys being forced into cars because they didn't pay enough. So they'll lose business or they won't lose business, right?
But Kerry, like you say, why are poor people complaining about rich people being treated badly?
You know, so
it's like these restaurants only want you for your money.
Yeah, so we've got a pair of capitalist pigs on the panel. Moving swiftly on to Kerry. With the Daily Mail, we're talking about Yorkshire.
There was nothing capitalist about that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. This is the Daily Mail story. 6-week Yorkshire dialect lessons will begin. I know this is an advert. Begin in God's own country to stop ancient words and phrases from becoming extinct. Good. I don't think there's a whole lot I can say. I'm very happy for Yorkshire people. Sure, hold on to dialects and words that are being lost over time. I can't understand what they're on about anyway, so it makes very little difference to me. And they give us some examples here. I'm not going to say any of these because I just couldn't do the accent well enough to justify them. I'll give you a couple. I'm choosing the ones I can say. Shut the door. I don't think they realise that kind of means the same all over the country. That's not a particularly confusing one, is it? We all say shut the door.
No,
There's one I'm going to read out with that accent. I reckon nought to it. That means I don't think much of it. I think I'd work out what someone means by I reckon nought to it.
I'm going to be honest with you, Kerry. Thank the Lord that you made a career out of comedy, mate, because acting, I don't think, is for you.
No, I can do anything but Yorkshire.
Right,
You name
OK,
it.
we're going to be going
And even then, I can do Yon Valley.
Yeah, don't do that, mate. We're getting people switching off in droves. So, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Monday's front pages. The Daily Mail, make coward Lethby face us. The Times, Letby police fear that she attacked 30 more babies. Guardian, pride in pain. iNews, Tories tell Sunak to sack Braverman. Express, King brings Andrew in from the cold. And finally, the Daily Star, we're so proud of you. And those were your front pages. That's it for tonight's show. Thanks to Lewis and Kerry. Headliners is back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Nick Dixon, Lewis and myself. So if you're watching the 5 a.m. version, then stay tuned for breakfast. See you there.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, I'm Dan Stroud, and this is your latest GB News forecast from the Met Office. So we have high pressure to the south and low pressure to the north and west. It kind of leaves the UK in between weather systems. But this area of low pressure is starting to actually push thicker cloud and outbreaks of rain in across Northern Ireland and northwest Scotland. Further to the south across England and Wales, largely clear skies. And under those clear skies, we do see some low cloud, mist and fog developing by dawn. Overnight temperatures remaining comfortably in double figures right the way across the board. Now, it's a bright start come Monday morning, with any low cloud, mist and fog across the south quickly lifting and breaking, leaving a pleasant enough day for many across the south. Further north, we have that rain edging in from the west, and that rain will become locally heavy by the course of the afternoon. Temperatures on Monday generally slightly higher than the values we saw on Sunday, with highs of 25 across the south and 21 further north. So that band of cloud and rain continues to sink south on Tuesday, and this kind of sort of sets the scene for the rest of the week as low pressure gradually wins out, turning increasingly showery for all by midweek, and temperatures peaking on Wednesday, particularly across the south and east. Bye for now.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.